Essential maintenance tips to get the perfect bike. 5 simple things we recommend for keeping your bike in great condition and riding perfectly. Keep your bike clean. Now that doesn't mean occasionally clean your bike, that means keep it clean. You can get a routine going which only takes 5 minutes, but it'll increase the performance of your bike significantly and the lifespan of it too. Hot soapy water, a big sponge and some degreaser is all you really need, and once you're in the groove it'll take you less and less time. It also means that your bike should be lubricated correctly at all times too. Indexing your gears is really simple, so if they aren't working properly, try it. Sorting the rear derailleur is generally as simple as turning the barrel adjuster, that's this little bit here, anti-clockwise by 1/4 to 1/2 a turn. The rule is make really small adjustments to make big changes. The front is a little more difficult, but it's still straightforward enough to tackle at home. And if you're struggling, it might not be your fault. Quite often the problem will be with your gear cables being old and sticky and making it impossible for the system to function properly. At this point, you just need to replace them. Do it, it improves performance hugely. And do your brakes while you're at it as well. Your bike will be much nicer as a result. Inflate your tyres to the correct pressure and check them routinely before you ride. You can influence the handling of your bike, the comfort, even the speed by altering the pressure you put in. Not to mention affecting your risk of puncturing. Finding the right pressure is a personal thing, and it will vary depending on the weather conditions, but as a rough guide, if you're less than 70 kilograms, try less than 100 psi for a 23C wide tyre, and never go less than 80. For larger riders, go up to 120 psi, and then when it's raining, everyone should look to drop the pressure by about 10 psi. Regularly check the parts on your bikes for things like bolt tightness, using a torque wrench to make sure you've got them to the correct tension. Even a cheap torque wrench will give you the rough settings that you need. It's safer like this, and it will mean that you've got a nice, quiet bike that functions as it should. As you put the miles on them, bike components do wear out, I'm afraid, no matter how well you look after them. And as financially painful as it is to replace them, in almost all instances, it saves money in the long run if you change them when they need doing, not waiting until you absolutely have to. Brake pads, for example, when worn, will shred your rims in just one ride. A worn chain will increase the wear on your cassette and chainrings, which are far more expensive to replace. So try to get into the mindset of replacing parts routinely, just as you would if you service a car. It's not particularly appealing, but we do recommend riding a bike that you can actually afford to replace parts on without worrying. Riding well-adjusted, fresh Shimano 105, for example, is much better than Dura-Ace that's worn out and tired, even if the group set does weigh a few hundred grams more. If you can't afford to replace that Dura-Ace chainring, then that's going to cause some issues. If you've got limited funds, sink them into parts of your bike that won't need replacing as much, like the frame, for example.